Well, a couple things come to my mind, and one of the things that when I've had this question asked to me, and as far as economic development, I'm a I'm a man with a very strong entrepreneurial spirit, and it's something that just as several years ago, I don't even remember what the group was called. I remember your former employee Tracy Marksberry headed it up, the Learning Center, I believe. And one of the things that they did is try to get everybody in the community to sign a pact, that a pledge that no matter who we were dealing with, that we would encourage them, talk about the importance of furthering our education, and to make a pledge to encourage each one of our, ourselves, our neighbors, our coworkers, uh, our kids, any of us, that when we talk to another, that we would encourage them, hey, you need to get more education, and talk that up. And I really think that we need to do that with regard to entrepreneurship and following our dreams. And it's something, um, one of the things I find very interesting is sometimes you look at a family, and there might be 5 kids in that family, and every one of them have their own business. When they grow up, all 5 of them have their own business. And that's because they've been encouraged from day one to follow their dreams, and don't limit yourself by taking this job over here that, yeah, it might be a decent job and it's got some benefits and it looks safe, but you know what? Just like the last 2 years have taught us, no job is guaranteed. You're there working for your employer as long as you're producing, as long as they have a need for you and they have the ability to pay your salary. Um, but when you're an entrepreneur and you have the heart to serve another individual, and it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. Recently I was talking to Mr. Ross Lesenby. I just met him at one of these banquets, and I said, your name seems familiar, but I don't know how I know it. And the guy sitting next to him said, oh, well, Ross used to own the Little Caesars, I believe it was. And in Owensboro, and anyway, he and I got to chatting, and one of the things he shared with me is that when as a successful businessman, sometimes he'll get called by schools, say, hey, Mr. Leslie, why don't you come in and talk to a group of students? And he said one of the things that inevitably when they hear my story that they'll say is, oh, well, we wish we lived in the good old days like you did, and he said, I tell them the good old days are today. There's more people in the world today than there ever have been, and there's more people willing to sit on their couch and let you pay you to do something for them than ever before, because of the wealth of our nation. And I really think that message needs to be shared with people. I mean, over and over. And even when John Bays was in our community, I told him the same thing. And I sat in this room with him and me, I think both of you. And one of the things I told him is, we were talking about casino gambling at that time, but I told him after hearing his story, I said, Mr. Bates, you need to be in our schools. You need to be talking to our school children and sharing your story, because there's so many people that don't believe you can do what you've done. And if you look at any business that's a household name today, almost all of them started off very small, and they grew, they had their successes, and sometimes they're 5 years of struggle before they have that breakthrough. And so anyway, big fan of entrepreneurship. Okay. Having said that, the next level I think is, and I don't know if we have somebody in place at EDC. I know they speak of having, what's the term they use, of our existing businesses or something. Mm-hmm. But I really think that rather than give a cursory visit once a year or however often they do it, that we, and I don't mean to pick on Fred or downtown, but sometimes I look at that $100,000 a year that we're giving to Fred between city and county government, and I think, to have that $100,000 going towards somebody that's going to be doing what I'm about to say would be, I think, so much more beneficial. And that's to have 1 or 2 people that could go in and meet with these successful entrepreneurs. Maybe they've been in business 5 years, and maybe they got 5 people working for them. And with just a little bit of coaching, a little bit of guidance, they might be able to spring from a 5-person shop to a 30-person shop or a 50-person shop. Whether it's helping them learn how to use the internet to market their service. I had a client one year, and I shared with him, and the nature of my business, I'm in the tax business, so I don't really have the ability and the time. I'm a one-person shop to go out and spend a week or a month with somebody. But I told him, I said, I think you're sitting on a gold mine. And I said, I honestly think with the business that you have, that if you use the internet to market yourself, and with the way that UPS can ship anywhere in the world today, that you could transform your business from he was pretty successful, from your current volume to probably beyond your dreams, and I don't believe he's ever gone there, but to have somebody that would kind of coach somebody to take that next step and to move, it's a natural progression of what I started out with, and that's really what I think that I would love to see as far as economic development. There's 2 benefits to having entrepreneurs that are successful in your community, just like Terry Woodward with Waxworks. I mean, he's one of the newest ones, okay? But his commitment is to this community. We've seen all the things he's done with Bluegrass. We've seen all his involvement with Kentucky Wesleyan College. Their hearts are in this community. And when they're successful and they succeed here, they're going to be generous back to the community. For years, Field Packing Company was that way when they were a locally owned business before they sold out to whoever owns them now. And that's one of the benefits to doing what I'm talking about. The other thing you mentioned, what can I do as a county commissioner to directly impact job creation? One of the things that I think holds back job creation in this community is our planning and zoning approach with planning and zoning. And I'm not an advocate for dismantling planning and zoning. I'm not an advocate for doing away with it. But there are places where I see that if we looked at the big picture, and especially with the focus of entrepreneurship, that I mentioned, is to make it easier for people to start out. I talked to a lady who owned a little beauty shop. I took my mom there to have her hair done, and she said, I used to live out on the west side of the county, and she said I had my shop in my home, and everything was wonderful. And I moved to Owensboro, and I'm trying to follow all the rules, and she's like, I put what I thought were beautiful landscaping outside my yard, because I wanted it to be attractive, because I live here, and they came in and told me, well, you can't have that. You got to have this. You got to have the little row of, they call it the, I want to say border. That's not right.
Buffer.
Buffer. Thank you. And while I understand in theory that that's important, and there are maybe limited places where that use is, maybe even mandatory use is appropriate, we kind of have a big black and white, ledger that says it's this no matter. And I think there needs to be some room for variation there. And the other thing that I'd like to do and to put into the comprehensive plan, because it's one of the things they always look at, and that review's coming up a year after I would take office if I win this election. And I want to specifically put language in there this time that would address the issue of our economy and job creation. Because where jobs are going to be created, I think we need to make sure we have flexibility in what we can do. And I don't mean, again, to dismantle the process, but I mean if somebody's going to come in and want to create 20 jobs, it's to say an absolute no and to run them out of town. Maybe they'll go to Ohio County and create those jobs, or to Henderson County. There's no need to have that happen, because with everything that we have in Owensboro, I would argue we're the better place for those people to live, and that they would be happy here, and we need to make it easier for them to open their shops here.